Okay, in this video we are going to show you how to change the float lid assembly on your bottleless water cooler. You should have received a box in the mail that will look something like this, and I wanted to open it up and show you exactly what you should expect to see when you open this box and some things to look for. It's a relatively simple procedure, as long as you kind of have a general idea of what you're doing. So when you open it up, you're going to see what looks like a box full of paper, which is packing material. You want to take this out kind of gently, all right, like that. We're going to get that box out of the way. Open this up again. You want to be kind of gentle with it. The reason I say that, these floats have a tendency sometimes to come loose in shipping, and hopefully you will find yours all intact, just as this one is. We have two floats here where you can see it. That's your backup float, that's your main float. You'll notice your main float never goes all the way up to the lid. Your backup float does. When it gets tripped, you'll notice it will stick all the way up there next to the float lid, just like that. And then when you push the reset button, by the way, for future reference, you'll see all you're doing is pushing that little piston down, and that little piston taps the top of this backup float, pushes it back down into place, okay? That's all you're doing there. This is the top of the float lid. You'll want to check and make sure you don't have any packing materials in between your floats here and the float lid. Sometimes on some of the other models, they do have a little styrofoam block in between here to help protect those and keep them from getting loose in shipping. If you find one of these off in shipping, they just really snap back on, and you just kind of have to look at it, and there'll be another video that you'll take a look at if you ever have to reattach one of those. But this is how it should look when you get it. All right, now we're going to go over to the cooler and show you what we need to do over there. The first thing you're going to want to do, of course, is turn the water off to the cooler. Very important. On this particular cooler, you'll need to locate wherever the shutoff valve is on your cooler. Hopefully you already know where that is. On this one, we happen to have a shutoff valve right here handy at the cooler, and we're going to turn that clockwise a quarter turn till it stops, just like that. And then it is in the off position. You'll notice that when the handle is crossways to the tubing, water's off. When it's in line, it is turned on. So now that we have the water turned off, we can proceed with the replacement. Okay, this happens to be an Everest model cooler. If you're not sure the model of your cooler, they're all pretty much the same when it comes to replacing the float lid. Your float lid may look just a little bit different, but they all get replaced pretty much the same way on these coolers. And so the first thing you're going to want to do, now that we have the water turned off, you're going to need a cup, all right, like this one or any cup, and either a pair of cutters or a pair of scissors. Either one will do. And you may need a screwdriver. On the back side of this top cover, you may find a screw here and a screw here. If you do, when you take those out, throw them away. They shouldn't even be there. They're only there for shipping. All right, so we're going to take our cup, go down here, and just dispense 1 cup of water. The reason we do that is to take the water pressure off of the lines so that when we change this float lid out, we don't get water that would spew out of that line. You might still get a little water, but that's fine. Nothing that's going to hurt anything, because now we have the water turned off. The way to take this off after you have the 2 screws out of the back, if you had to take those out, I do it like this. With my hand, I always tell everybody to take your hands, put them on the top of the cooler, roll them down to each side, kind of come to the front. I put my thumbs here, and I just slide that back, and it just comes up and off like that. All right, so now that we've got the top cover off, this is your float lid that we need to replace, and you can do this one of 2 ways. Easiest way for you would probably be take your scissors or cutters and just cut this tube right here. Once you've done that, then you're just going to pull the float lid up and off. I'm not going to do it that way because I want to show you the right way to do it. And in order to do that, I'm going to turn this float lid around just a little bit so it's easier for you to see. There's a little ring right here where this tubing goes into this fitting. You can see that, looks like clearly in the video. Now if you take this tube and push in, like you're trying to push it farther into that fitting like that, and then hold that little ring in and pull that tube, you can see it comes right out. All right? And then to reattach it, of course, you take it and just push it until it stops, and you'll notice it won't come back out. Push in on it, hold the ring, pull it, comes right out. So now that we've got that detached, we can see we got a nice clean tank. If your tank's dirty, you can take this opportunity maybe to wipe it down and flush the bad water out of the cooler. We're going to take our new float lid, which looks, of course, identical to the old one. We're going to bring it over here. This arrow is really supposed to be pointing toward the front, like that. It doesn't really make any difference that I know of, but we're going to do it the way it's supposed to be done. All right? Then, of course, this tubing, we're going to bring it around, push it back into that fitting until it stops. Give it a tug, it won't come back out. And now, you have replaced your float lid. Now we're going to turn the water back on over here on the side, right where we turned it off. And to do that, I'm just going to turn this 1/4 turn back counterclockwise. And you probably can't hear this on the video, but we hear water streaming in into the cooler. And we can see here by looking at our fitting that we haven't created any leaks. In fact, what I always like to do is take a piece of tissue paper and just kind of wipe that down real dry, because we do, of course, create a little bit of moisture when we disconnect from the other float lid. But as you can see, we're nice and dry there. The cooler fills up and stops. This is a vent on the top of the float lid, and if something happens, it's going to overfill and overflow. Water would start coming out right here. But our water has shut off. We're under normal operations, so we're good to go. Close it back up. Close it back up. If you take this lid we took off, you'll see right here, there's a little tab sticking out there. And on the back of the cooler, you can see where that tab goes, right in that notch there. So this is the way I put it back on. I take that tab and put it in front of that, this tab, put it in front of that tab where the notch is. My screw holes here are lined up with where the screws would go if we had them in on the back. And I just kind of hinge that forward like that. Then once you've got it to here, you can just push it back like we did before, line it up, and we're back in business. And now you have changed your float lid assembly. All right, you know how to get us if you have any problems. I don't think you will. Good luck. We know you can do this.